Hello and welcome to the Bears and Beers podcast. Hello and welcome to the Bears and Beers podcast, the unofficial podcast of the Sydney Bears Australian Ice Hockey League team. We have with us Nathan Graham, Matt Wiggins, and myself, Gordon Goodenough. We are your hosts for this evening. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good evening. Doing very well. I'm glad you asked. In true testament to the podcast theme, I've got my Monday evening beverage here, and I'm looking forward to cracking my podcast cherry with you, gentlemen.
How are you, Matt?
I'm doing really well, mate. Thank you. Just touched down on the West Coast. I'd like to pretend I'm over here on a spying mission, but that would be a flat out lie. But a pleasure to be with you, gents, and excited to get stuck into the pod.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, we are the unofficial podcast of the Sydney Bears. As far as what you, the listener, can expect from us, we are planning to bring you weekly podcast content. We will wrap up the week's action that was mainly focused on the Bears. We will preview the week to come. We will have interviews with players and staff and others, and give you a bit of insight into the Sydney Bears ice hockey team as well. By way of introduction, my name is Gordon Goodenough. I am the analyst commentator for the Sydney Bears on AIHL.tv, and I've been working for the club since 2023 in various roles as a staff writer mainly, and have other previous experience in media. Matt, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and let them know your roles as well?
Well, that's a tough act to follow. Yes, Gordy, aka the media guru. Matt Wiggins, the 3-year supporter, first-year sponsor, massive hockey fan. Had the pleasure of being introduced to the Bears through Gordy and Nathan. Should I mention that I'm a Leafs fan? Probably not. Let's just hand over to you.
Not.
Let's just hand over to you, Nathan. I'm in shallower waters if I just pass the baton on to you, mate.
It's a veteran move from you, Matt. Hi, everyone. My association with the Bears started in 2017 initially as a sponsor. Following COVID, I ended up working in various commercial roles with the club. At present, I have 2 official roles with the club, one being team governor, essentially representing the club at an AIHL level, and I also act in the capacity of director of hockey operations.
Excellent. So a lot of varied experience amongst the three of us, and we're looking forward to being able to, for me as much as anyone else, learning a bit more about the club and how it functions and different things around the league as well, and sharing insights as well, of course. But first up, let's get right into things. It was a big weekend of AIHL action. Let's take a quick look around the league. Would one of you gents like to take us through what happened in the non-Sydney Bears games?
Yeah, I can take us for a quick walkthrough if you'd like. On Saturday, we had the Melbourne Ice just edging the Rhinos in a 7-6 game, which I'm certain that for those that are listening, they've probably seen the way that game ended. But if you haven't, I highly recommend that you watch perhaps the last 90 seconds, 2 minutes of that game at least. Absolute grandstand finish down there at O'Brien. We'll skip our game. We'll obviously get to that in more detail. The Brave 5-0 winners over the Adrenaline in Adelaide. And on the Sunday, we had the Rhinos over the Mustangs, who obviously had the trip home on Saturday, backing up at O'Brien on the Sunday, so 8-5 to the Rhinos. The Sydney Ice Dogs defeated the North Stars in the Hunter 6-3, and the Brave edged Adelaide 6-4 at Adelaide Ice Arena.
Yeah, excellent. And then, of course, we had the Sydney Bears. We will dive deep into the result, but a 4-3 win over the Melbourne Mustangs. Matt, you had two interviews after the game, one with Hayden Plimley and one with fellow podcast host Nathan Graham. We'll play those now, and then we'll dissect them.
Okay, I'm with Hayden Plimley, Sydney Bears goalie extraordinaire. Congrats, Hayden. Great win.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to get one over the Mustangs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little familiar with their goalie too, so of course it's always good when we got those kind of battles, and we had a good win today.
4-3 flattered them a little bit. I thought we were better for the win than that. A little bit squeaky in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, the win kind of got away from us a little bit towards the end of the third, but I think we did good to get bounced back. I mean, I made a quick mistake. But hopefully those don't happen too often, and we can keep getting more wins.
Mate, you made some great saves before that. So I did notice the boys were blocking shots, throwing their bodies on the line. I just spoke to Ox as he walked past. He saved, I thought, a goal, closing space down and getting a stick in the lane in the second period. What were you seeing from the boys in front of you?
Yeah, no, I think it was one of our best games this season so far. Everyone was getting in the blocking lanes. So not much to complain about. It's always good when guys are putting their body on the line.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of guys will be at physio tomorrow, so yeah.
Great to see the boys with a smile on their face as well. So I think that might lift us over them in the standings, or level on points with them anyway. So what are you thinking about the game next week?
Yeah, I think we got the Ice Dogs and the Central Coast, two really good teams. So hopefully we can carry on this win into next weekend and get some more wins.
Brilliant. Kimmer's coming back. Are you going to keep him out of the team?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I look up to that guy. He's been a great inspiration, and keep him at head level in these games. So he's always been a great guy to me.
Awesome. Little Birdie tells me you're from New York. Rangers fan?
Yes, yeah. It's been a rough road this past weekend. But, yeah, hopefully Stanley Cup in the future.
Yeah. I'm a Leafs fan. I think we're as far away from it as one another, mate. Congratulations on a great performance today, Hayden.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the Beers and Bears podcast.
Thank you.
Legend, thank you. Okay, with Nathan Graham. Nathan, great win, 4-3.
Absolutely, big points for us tonight.
Yeah.
Mustangs always a tough game, packed house, and I think a much improved performance from the boys tonight.
A little bit of an injury issue to deal with.
Yeah, obviously Brett Bamber went down. I think at the end of the first there, bit of a nasty one, but he's doing okay. Our staff, as always, we're there to offer the support needed, and he's back at the hospital getting treatment, and he's doing okay.
Yeah, he's with Jeff and Dane, right? Legends.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. We just spoke to Hayden. He had a great game. Boys played well in front of him. What was your take?
Hayden's been rock solid for us. We expect, traditionally some good performances in net. Hayden's come in, new group, and really sort of set a high standard in net for us. And he's a great kid. It's good to see him doing well, and you could tell that he was pretty happy with the 3 points tonight.
Yeah.
And overall a really good performance. There's probably one maybe two that he'd want back, but overall a really good performance.
2,000 in the barn tonight. People queuing up to buy merch.
Yeah.
Ran out of beer in the first period. Got to be happy with all those
well,
things.
We ran out of one particular beer in the first, but look, amazing to see big lines pre-game, wrapping multiple laps around the centre, merchandise bar, absolutely hemorrhaging with people. I thought there were probably times in the game where it was maybe a little bit quiet. I think there were maybe some nerves in the stands as well, but certainly towards the back end of the third, the atmosphere definitely dialed up, and it was great to actually see the late support for the boys there at the end.
Yeah. Mustangs are nobody's fools. That's a great win. Message for the fans for next week?
I think, like you've done all season, guys, keep supporting. All the guys are talking about the wonderful support, and certainly noting the packed crowds. It certainly helps us out there, and we couldn't do it without all of you. So looking forward to another packed house next time around here.
Magnificent. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Any thoughts, Matt, on Hayden Plimley, his performance? You mentioned it during the interview.
Yeah, I thought he had a great game, to be honest. I did ask him about, his view of how the boys in front of him played, and it did occur to me that, block shots, bodies on the line, sticks in lanes, defensively the boys played particularly well, especially considering the injury to Mr. Bamber. But yeah, I thought he did super well. You could tell the kid was a bit down on himself for, the stick handling error that gave up the shorty. But yeah, super kid. He he moved when he needed to. I watched the game back on AIHL TV. At times he just, he was very athletic and, throwing himself around as he needed to. And there are other times where he's just rock solid, hardly moved, flashed the, he's got that quick glove hand. Obviously he's a lefty. So it's the opposite way around for shooters. But yeah, I was really impressed with him, both his performance and, the way he conducted himself in the interview afterwards.
Yep, absolutely. And Nathan, your thoughts as well on the performance.
Yeah, look, I thought the performance was an improvement on perhaps what we've served up on average lately. I know the guys probably haven't been, overly thrilled with, our game and some of the performances, perhaps over the last 3 to 4 weeks. But I think maybe we did some of the fundamental things a little bit better on Saturday. I don't think there were sort of the volume of mistakes and gimmies that we gave up. And I think if you probably look at certainly I thought the first period was a really strong one from us. Certainly as the game went on, it probably very quickly became a little bit closer than what perhaps we would have liked. But I think up and down the lineup, we got some secondary scoring, and up and down the lineup, I thought we were pretty solid, and I thought the defensive group, for the large part, were actually pretty good throughout the game.
Yeah, and Matt, I know you mentioned this in the interview with Hayden. I thought that was Tyrone Oxlade's best game of the season, and you mentioned a play that he made to block a shot at the end of the, I think at the end of the second period, stop the puck, the pass, which would have been, tap and goal. What did you see? Did you see the same, or was there other performances that caught your eye?
Look, I mean, I've got to be honest. I love the GOAT throwing 3 massive hits in the first 10 minutes of the game. I do like seeing the senior players sort of send a bit of a message. I think we got pushed around in a game a couple of weeks ago, so seeing Alex, put a couple of the opponents on their backsides was great. Yeah, Tyrone did well. Great to see him joining the rush. He showed us a one-timer as well, I think, in the first half. I thought it was just a good all-round team performance from the boys. Tyrell Clare just as solid as a rock back there. I really took the time to watch him. There are games in the past where I've watched, Riser, I've watched the GOAT, I've watched Tyrone. It's probably the first time I've ever watched Tyrell, and he can often go a little bit unnoticed because his game is so simple but so effective. It's no fuss, no frills. I thought Tyrell had an excellent game as well. So, as Nathan said, really strong first. Good to see the boys bringing the physicality. Everybody dug in after losing Bamber in, I think, the first minute of the second period, and Plimley just shut the door behind them, which was great to see.
And Nathan, one of the newly arrived imports, Nick Zeitz, scores his 6th goal in 2 games. From your perspective, when you're involved in recruiting and trying to find import players, talk us through like that process. you have some stats that you rely on, but it's always difficult to know just how they'll perform in the AIHL.
Yeah, exactly. Look, there's certainly no exact science to it. I think quite often it's actually the opposite. Certainly, with Nick, at the time that we were, initially speaking with him, I think we had quite a pressing need for, someone with, high-end shot, goal-scoring instincts, someone who probably brought that mix of shot and speed, and direct offensive contribution. Certainly, he had, his first year in the EI, over in the UK was a very, very strong year. I think from memory, I think he was the third top scorer in that league, which is a very good standard, by the way. Unique thing with Nick, we were quite fortunate. We had, not just the statistical assessment on him. We had multiple people that we could reference Nick via. We also had a lot of analytics that sort of supported that. His numbers were a very fair reflection of some of his underlying ability. The numbers certainly indicated that he had sort of a top percentile shot profile coming out of the EI. But again, you can look at all of that, and you certainly always know typically what you're getting in the way of a character, but there's always that underlying question mark in terms of how is this person and their background and their skill set going to translate into the AIHL. Look, we certainly hoped and had a pretty high level of confidence that he'd come in and score goals and add probably a different element to that of what we had. But he certainly jumped straight out of the blocks, and it's great to see. He's an awesome guy, relatively quiet guy, but certainly great around the group. And we've seen already that offensive goal scoring instinct that he brings. So to see what we thought we had actually translate into the real version out here so far, even though it's a small sample size, I think anyone in the stands who's been watching Nick showcase his talents will be feeling pretty good about that signing.
Yep,
absolutely. Gordy, there's one other point I wanted to raise, and I think you picked it up with Eric on the commentary. The PK was outstanding, 100% PK, 4 out of 4. I think Nick was killing penalties at one point, but Tommy Lander, Moselle, the rest of the boys, really, really going to work, helping the D out and helping Plimley out. So, hats off to the penalty killers. Very unheralded job, but I thought the boys did fantastic.
Yeah, no, they did very well. It's interesting. There was a stat related to special teams that I had a look at, and I had to double check to see if it was real. So if you look at special teams by home and when we're away, the Sydney Bears at home have the best power play in the league by far. 12 goals on 36 opportunities, running at a 33.33% clip. When we're on the road, we are 2 for 30 on the power play. That's a 6.67% power play. That's a difference of over 26.5%. Mm. So I don't know what it is about the Macquarie ice rink. But man, it's the Bears certainly enjoy being on the power play at Macquarie.
Yeah, that's quite a discrepancy, isn't it? I don't know. You sort of I don't really know what you put that down to. Perhaps we should probably ask at some point someone a bit smarter than me. But that's certainly a stat that jumps off the page, no doubt. I think one thing that is relatively obvious as well, and I think Gordy, you've mentioned this yourself. One thing that we have struggled with has been opening the scoring. We obviously jumped on the board super quick on Saturday. That just makes such a huge difference. And look, I don't know, and apologies if I'm putting you on the spot here, but I think we've been relatively successful for a while now if we have opened the scoring. And look, I'm sure that's probably a cheap stat. I'm sure that probably goes for a lot of teams, but it just gives you such a great level of confidence to jump out early. Because, some of our starts this year have been relatively slow, not just on the scoreboard.
Yeah, we had early goals certainly in the first and the second, maybe even in the third. I'm just trying to remember now and going over my game notes. But I think we had goals in the first minute or first 2 minutes of at least the first and the second period, Gordy, right?
Yeah, you're spot on.
Yeah. It's interesting that stat that you mentioned about the us scoring first. We coming into the game, we were ninth in the league in amount of games where we scored first. The 10th team was the Adelaide Adrenaline. So on the game on Saturday, that was just the 5th time in 13 games that we scored the first goal. And we've won 4 of those games. So we've won 80%.
Yep.
League-wide coming into it. Coming into the weekend's games, there had been 64 games played. And the team that scored the first goal won 75% of the time. So we're about bang on. Games in which the Mustangs have been involved in this season. This is I think a wild stat. They've played 15 games this season. The team that has scored the first goal has won 14 of those games that the Mustangs are involved in. So I mentioned it pre-game that for whatever it is, we needed that first goal. We needed to score that first goal against the Mustangs. And it's funny, Nick Seitz, he's been here for 2 games. He scored the first goal of the game twice. And I think that just helps you so much as a team. You're not chasing the game. You have teams maybe cheating defensively to try to create some offense, and you can burn them. So I think it's definitely something that we were very successful with in 2024. We scored the first goal of the game 19 out of 30 games that season, and it's something we've struggled with. But hopefully that trend is being kind of arrested.
And Nick scored 6 straight goals for us.
Yeah.
Talk about announcing yourself with pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. And how good was Gustav Remler Jensen's goal?
Oh,
yes.
Almost as good as his celly afterwards. That was a class celly.
Yeah.
He's got a few of those in the kit bag, actually.
Good on him. He's a cracking player. I've been in both of your ear about how much I like his game. He's got a little bit of feistiness. He's got the hands. That shot was unreal on Saturday for the 3rd goal. And he's always just in and around the action. He's a feisty little one, and I'm here for every second of it. Brilliant.
And a big shout out to Lucas Herman for parking his body right in front of Noah Giesbrecht, and it was a perfect screen. And the Mustangs just let Remler Jensen skate around. But he's now tied his career high. Obviously it was a rookie season last season for the Rhinos, but he's tied his career high in goals, and we're not even halfway through the season yet. He's nearly a point a game player. He's got 12 points in 13 games. I think he's been really good on that top line.
Look, obviously the coaching staff, would agree with that. He's been a relatively permanent fixture, on that top line, regardless of what the configurations look like. Like, he's been stapled to Herms all season, from what I can recall.
Yeah.
But I think just pivoting back to Nick as well, the one thing I've noticed really quickly is this guy just seems to have, again, those instincts and the awareness to understand where the puck's going to be or where he needs to be to find spots to be dangerous. I can't recall. I think it was that first goal, which was the rebound opportunity.
It was, yeah.
And even in other passages of play where there hasn't been scoring at the end of it, if people are really bored at home and they want to go back and watch these games, this guy just seems to have a a really elite ability to understand sort of the positional side in the ozone. And I think that's we've already seen that he's been able to capitalise on that ability to put some chances away as well. So again, like I think particularly in a league like that of the AI, you're quite often going to see a lot of second and third looks. So hopefully that's something that we can see for the rest of the season and get some dividend off the back of.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about it before a little bit how Lucas Herman has been excellent for us this season in scoring goals, but it's not probably his natural game. He's a natural playmaker, and I think the first if you look at the first 11 games of the season, he had 6 assists, so less than an assist per game, but had scored like over a goal per game. And now in the last 2 games, he's got 4 assists. Does is that kind of your guys' perspective as well? That it provides adding Nick Zeitz to Herman's wing, that it allows people to fill roles that they're more comfortable with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look, I also thought Lucas had a great game defensively at the weekend. He was super tenacious on the back check and helping turning pucks over. But yeah, that top line's a real handful, right? Because you've got a sniper in Nick, whose positional play is unreal. Lucas goes back to playing to his superpowers, which is leading by example and being that elite passer that we've seen him to be. And then you've got, the young Brad Marchand buzzing around everywhere, causing trouble and, sniping top shelf, goals to stretch the lead. I love it. I think the guys are playing great.
Yeah. And good to see. I think even though he didn't get on the score sheet, but for goals at least, Dexter Moselle, he's out there right at the end of the game. I think he's just a bulldog.
Face off king.
Yeah, yeah. He's been a really good addition as well. Nathan, can you share anything about how you get how you find a guy like that? Because that seems to be just gold.
I think in the case of Dex, what you do is you roll out a very consistent plan that involves annual harassment and a lot of relentless approach and a lot of conversation. I know Ryan Annesley Riser. I know he has been in conversation with Dex for several years. Like I'm sure a lot of clubs around the league have been as well. So certainly I don't think I've really spoken about Dex too much, but we're certainly thrilled to have him on board. He has an infectious personality. I think the way that he plays on the ice is probably a fairly reasonable reflection of his personality. He's a high energy guy. He's got a lot of leadership qualities. He's a team guy. He's a pro. He's a bit of a Swiss Army knife out there. There's a lot of things that he can do. He can play on both sides of the puck. As you said, Matty, strong face-off guy. Can play both ends of the special teams. Really good complementary type of player. He's slotted in like he's been around the Bears for a decade. Honestly, he marshals the rest of the import group. He's a huge leader off the ice. Just an absolute pleasure to have around the club. Great with fans. I think he's just a people person. He loves being involved. He loves, talking to people, not just about hockey, but about life, and he loves building relationships, etc. So he's been a really versatile lad for us, and hopefully a guy that we can see around here for the long term.
Anything else you gents wanted to cover about the game before we move to the standings?
Yeah, just a quick tip of the hat to Zander, Johnny on the spot for the fourth. Super important goal. That's his sixth of the season, I think, as well. So, yeah, Zander's quietly clocking up the goals and doing, as you said, Nathan, with Moselle, Zander's contributing both sides of the puck. So good on you, Zander. Goal number 6, game winner.
Yeah, his first game-winning goal of the season too. So, congrats to him. He scored. I know he scored an important empty netter against the Brisbane Lightning in our second game of the season, and he's one of the guys that he's a very handy player. To have him on the third line seems like a luxury. And on the power play, I think a couple of games ago against the Adelaide Adrenaline, he, power play unit 2 scored 2 goals, and he scored both of them. So yeah, very, very useful guy to have.
And I think he's featured in something like 8 of our 13. Yeah, that's correct. We played 13 games.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's featured in the scoring in 8 of 13 games, which is really strong level of sort of consistent impact on the scoreboard. Xander's been great. In the ozone, he's been really good for us this year.
Yeah. Another guy on a streak, actually, shout out Lucas Herman. 10 game point streak at the moment, 9 goals, 9 assists. So 18 points in the last 10 games for him. So yeah, it's congrats to him.
Gordy, I mentioned the GOAT had 3 big hits. He also quietly got 3 apples.
Yeah, although they've removed one from him on because I wrote down 3 assists in an article that I wrote yesterday, and then I rechecked it and I had to adjust it to 2. They've changed it on esports desk for whatever reason. So
I can provide a bit of clarity on that. So the third goal, which was Gus's goal, I think GOAT was initially down for the secondary assist, but that was actually Nick Seitz.
Okay, so he gets his first assist of his
First
Bears career.
assist, yeah.
6 goals, one assist for Nick Seitz. So yeah, that's a collector's item there. Moving on to the standings. The Bears entered the weekend in 6th and potentially could have been as low as 8th. Pending other results, it felt like we really needed that win against the Mustangs. Temporarily, we leapfrogged the Rhinos, but then the Rhinos getting the win over the Mustangs puts them back ahead. So we're still in 6th. We're tied with the Brave, but have a game in hand. The Rhinos and Mustangs are 2 points ahead of us, but both of them have played more games than us. The Thunder and Ice Dogs are on 27 points. The North Stars on 29. So we are 4th in the league in points percentage, which is perhaps a more useful kind of barometer. But we've got a big weekend this weekend, and pending results, we could be anywhere in the standings from 4th to 9th by the end of this weekend. So let's get into it. First up on Saturday, Battle of Sydney. The Wilson Cup is in jeopardy. We've held it since 2019. Anything other than a Bears regulation win would mean that the cup goes to the Ice Dogs. How are we feeling about this one, boys?
Not feeling great about that piece of information, Gordy. But yeah, look, I would imagine the confidence is high after that performance on Saturday. So I think the boys have got every reason to be optimistic and rise up and pump for the game.
Yeah, look, sorry guys, I don't like talking about derbies, not this year anyway. Look, I'm actually expecting this to be a really good game. The Dogs, as much as I hate admitting it, the Dogs have had a really good start to the season. I think their top guys have consistently been, their best players on the ice. I also think from the games that I've seen them play, including that of ours and certainly the game yesterday that I watched, they take their opportunities. They work hard. I thought their PK yesterday looked fantastic against a really dangerous sort of top unit, with Newcastle. I know how much our guys want this, and let's be real. The temperature's always up for a derby. The place will be absolutely packed. Atmosphere should be great, and our guys have got a lot to play for. So I'm probably expecting the best derby we've seen this season, and possibly for a long time here. I think both teams have got a lot to play for. Really looking forward to this one.
And then on Sunday we've got the Rhinos, who I thought had been in a little bit of free fall up until the weekend, and they probably deserved to win against the Melbourne Ice. They were 70 odd seconds away from actually winning, and Ice came back, and then they were a good value, I thought, the next day for the win against the Mustangs. Danik Bouchard, I was talking to Phil Taylor about this earlier today, who's head of photography for the league and Mustangs photographer, and he was saying he was looking through his photos, and he reckons Danik Bouchard was on the ice for pretty much every single one except for when he went to the box for 4 minutes. He reckons he was just a beast and carried that team to the win, and now he leads the league in points. It looked like Santeri Harala was going to run away with the scoring title for a little while there, and Danik Bouchard is just he's been impressive.
Yeah, he is noticeable every shift. Good wheels, great offensive instincts. He loves carrying the puck. He's almost obsessed with possession, and he uses that possession really well. Really, really impressive player to watch. I'd actually say one of the most enjoyable players to watch across the league. Actually, very dangerous. His point scoring haul already has been super impressive. 40 plus points. So yeah, he's going to be an absolute danger for us, no doubt. I think the Rhinos losing Boivin, I think is the correct pronunciation, obviously has been a significant loss for them, but they've still got a lot of weapons at the top of their order. So again, should be a fantastic game.
Yeah, just looking at his stat line, Nathan, is 19 goals, 26 assists for 45 points in 17 games.
It's impressive.
Pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. And Anand Oberoi has been excellent for them. He's won games for them. I know the last time that we saw him at the Macquarie Ice Rink.
Yeah, mate, what a game he had that night, Gordon.
Geez, what was it, like 87 saves? I think Alyssa Longmuir ended up calculating in a shootout win. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll need to start taking our trauma medication, seeing Anand Oberoi again this weekend. But
that game on Sunday, Gordy and Nathan, it's almost as big as the game on Saturday. I know the derby is got a little bit of extra spice, but in terms of the standings, if we can get take the points against the Rhinos, we've got games in hand over them, obviously, but that should create the opportunity for us to get some space, hopefully in the next week or two on the ladder. So let's hope that Oberoi doesn't Oberoi us again, Gordy, because that was an unbelievable performance the last time we watched him play at Macquarie.
Yeah. The season's already moving along so quickly. This might be a little bit of an overstatement, but it does feel like we're almost getting into the territory where some of these games do feel like 6-pointers.
Yeah.
Certainly a team, like the Rhinos. I know they've played a few more than us, but look, our guys, I'm certainly going to be right up for this doubleheader. I think these two games feel like huge games for us. I think if we can put down a performance that's perhaps similar to to that of maybe the majority of the game that we served up on Saturday. I'd like to think that'd be a good foundation for us to get some results out of this weekend. But let's see how it unfolds. I think there's one particularly interesting wrinkle to the Sunday game, and that's the possibility of two ex-teammates in France, Dunkirk, Bouchard and our own Louis Olive, playing against each other over here. So that's going to be an interesting watch as well.
Yeah,
it feels just about the right time of the year for the Brave to start their traditional charge, and I also get a sense that Kerry's starting to kick the ice into shape, and they've started their engines too. So points against the Rhinos, and hopefully the Dogs too will be very welcome, I think, this weekend.
yeah. Well, it's just an interesting, maybe slightly depressing stat, but an interesting one is we have played 6 games against teams above us in the standings, and Saturday's game against the Mustangs was the first time that we'd come away with a win. So it feels like that win, although it wasn't the prettiest of wins, and we got it done, and that feels really, really, really important. And that feels like a game that potentially we could be looking back on in August and saying, geez, like we're really glad we grinded that one out and we ended up taking the points, because it's pivotal for the standings. And it feels like these games this weekend again could have that feel. You mentioned the teams behind us. Canberra Brave, they've won 3 games in a row. They're right behind. They're tied with us in points. The Melbourne Ice have won 4 games in a row. They're right behind us. Brisbane Lightning, they're really tough to play at Boondall. They've got 2 games at Boondall this weekend against the Mustangs. So it's it feels like you've got to keep one eye on what's behind you and just keep on clawing points.
I'll be a bit more optimistic than you, Gordo, and I'll definitely talk from a position of bias here. But when I look at those teams ahead of us, I think we get to play the Rhinos as yet. But I look from top down here. Our 2 games against the North Stars, I really don't feel like there was a significant margin between the 2 teams in both of those games. I'd say something relatively similar. In relation to the two games against the Ice Dogs, probably particularly the first game. And then Perth Thunder, we travelled to Perth with, half a lineup. And, pound for pound, I thought we actually, worked our backsides off under really trying circumstances. So whilst the points don't really reflect a lot of the commentary that I'm serving up here, I also don't feel like there's any team there that are unbeatable for us.
Yep. Yeah, no. Thanks for the pep talk.
Mate, it's my pleasure. There'll be plenty more to come. So but make sure you remain in the receiving position.
No, but it is true. Like we have played some excellent games so far this season, and that game against the Melbourne Ice that we played, the 4-1 win, that was a completer performance as I've seen from the team. So we've got that quality behind us. I think we've got the players. We've got a group that's gelling game by game. So yeah, let's see where it takes us.
Yeah. Oh, and look, I'm not saying that we absolutely need to be better than what we've been on average, through 13 games. There's no doubt about it. You're probably going to, assume that a lot of other teams are probably thinking the same way. We're getting into a point now where in a couple of weeks, all rosters will be set. And I guess in typical AI fashion, it really is that second half when the whips start cracking and you then start to get a true feel for, what a top 6 could potentially look like.
Any final thoughts before we ride off into the sunset?
Been great chatting with you fellas. Been fun.
Likewise, I've somehow made it through, gentlemen. It would appear.
Yeah.
You just
Oh,
taken to it like a duck to water, Nathan.
we are recording on Monday, so congratulations to Mitch Marner. To the Carolina Hurricanes for their Stanley Cup win over the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, that was good to see. Good to see.
Absolutely.
Eric Stahl, what a player.
Yeah,
There's,
yeah,
there's hope for old men all around the world. And yes, as a fellow Leaf fan, Gordy, so pleased it didn't happen.
yeah. That was it. It looked like after 3 games, it was feeling kind of inevitable, and we were getting that narrative, you know, drilled into us. But it didn't happen, so that's good. But yes, thank you for listening. If you're still with us as well, make sure you give us a follow on socials. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube. Just search Bears and Beers Podcast and you will find us there. Stay tuned. We will be with you next week as well. And we'll be here hopefully to recap another 2 big wins by the Sydney Bears. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm just amazed I've made it to TikTok at the ripe old age of 56.
Look, we've got the social handles. We'll see how much content comes out. But yeah, we'll make some clips. We'll do some things and see what happens.
Okay, just some dance moves ahead of next week, just in case, Gordy.
All right. See you guys. See you,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. Cheers.
Ta-da!